Spark TV, Adventures in Creativity, Creative Profiles, presented by Spark.
Spark is a non-profit, fully immersive creative environment with a mission to ignite the spark of creativity inherent in all children.
Spark provides a variety of creative disciplines to spark the imagination, expand the mind, and engage the body.
Through an endless roster of workshops, field trips, and family visits,
kids exercise their creativity and learn about the creative process through activities,
play, and collaboration with other kids, creative artists, and innovators.
For more information or to make a contribution to help support creativity and creative programming like Spark TV,
please visit sparkdallas.org.
My name is Jess Garland, and I am a performing artist and president and founding director of Swan. My first introduction to music was from both of my grandmothers. One of my grandmothers had a piano in her home, and the other one had an organ. So that was my first introduction to music, playing Lean on Me in both of their homes. And I got started in the band playing clarinet, and I played clarinet through middle school. And in high school, I got really inspired to start playing the guitar, but I didn't take lessons until Eastville Community College. From there, I transferred to Southern Methodist University, majoring in political science, even though that's clearly not what I'm doing today. But I started teaching guitar in college. So I've been teaching guitar in Dallas for 15 years, and for the past 3 years, I've been focusing more on free music education. I started my organization by working with other nonprofit organizations. I started in South Dallas, right where we are now, not far from here, with a summer program. In 2017, it was about 3 years ago. I did that for about a couple of years, and from that point I started filing paperwork to become a 501c3 organization, which just means that I'm more eligible for more funding, and because I wanted to grow my program. My creative process generally looks like I write a lot of poetry, and to just get a lot of my thoughts out, and a lot of times I just jam out with myself at home. I use technology with my music, and so I use a Boss loop pedal. It's just a single loop pedal, and also delay effects as well too, just to kind of expand on my sound as well. And start just playing my instrument and playing the harp, and just so I can get a little bit more inspiration. Then I kind of start to pull from some of that poetry as well too, to kind of pull my music together. I get a lot of inspiration from, I listen to Alice Coltrane, I listen to Dorothy Ashby, I love Sade. I really love going out into nature. Places just like Texas Discovery Gardens over here at Fair Park. This is my neighborhood, so I definitely, in between my breaks of teaching online lessons, will get out and come walk around the park. And just from being around in nature, you can get a lot of different inspiration. Nature sounds, the fountain, you know, a bug just flew by. Sorry. Inspiration from the animals and the bugs that are near you. Trees. Collaborations are very important because you need additional voices. My solo performance is typically solo by myself, playing harp and guitar, singing sometimes and sometimes not, but there have been some performances that I put together with Aurora Festival, and also over at South Dallas Culture Center, which is just a short walking distance from here, where I've involved other poets and dancers to kind of bring together a certain aesthetic and theme to my music. So collaboration is very important to kind of get where you're trying to go, to kind of I make mistakes all the time, and that's something that I constantly tell all of my students. I think a lot of my students have the idea that when they are in the lesson that they have to be perfect, that they have to know everything. Practice is important, but I always let my students know that it's not about perfection. Learning music is about discipline and practice, and it's really a self-discovery. So that's a common message that I always tell my students, that don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's kind of how you learn more about yourself. Music is its own language, and so it helps you with learning how to process your emotions and learn how to communicate as well. And so I tell a lot of my students that, children and adults, that it's not about becoming the next rock star. That's not the intention of taking the lessons. Even if that's what you want to do, that's okay, but you can really apply what you've learned in music classes to other subject areas as well, and as well as your work life. You're working the left side of your brain, and so you can think of creative ways to solve problems and do your work. So one of the biggest creative influences I've had was my grandmother, my dad's mom, because her dad played the piano and she had a piano in her home. But my grandmother was not a musician, she was a dancer, and she was one of the first Kilgore Rangerettes. And she was also a ballet dancer as well too. I tried it for a little while, but that wasn't for me. But she definitely was a big influence as far as creativity in my life. But she always wanted a harp around as well too, which is probably maybe how I got started. I always kind of thought about like how cool would it be to have a grand harp in your home versus a lot of people having a grand piano. I think some people struggle with identifying as creative, but another thing that I do share with my students, that everyone is a creative. Everyone knows how to make and do something. You don't have to be a musician or a dancer or anything like that. If you're making food, you're creating something. If you're, I don't know, sewing something, whatever it is, you can, even if it's just something as simple as making food, you're a creator. My advice to kids would be to definitely dream big, and I know that may sound simple, but it's really, really true. You may hear a lot of adults telling you to reach for the stars and look for the stars, but that is something that you actually really can strive for. You can really do anything that you want to. You just have to start applying and doing the work and not being afraid to put yourself out there. I make a lot of mistakes throughout this process. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. That's how I learn as well. You have to, you just can't be afraid to put yourself out there and not being afraid to get no sometimes, and just to keep moving forward and believe in yourself is the most important thing. Yeah, exactly.
Blood on my hands, trying hard to understand. Pieces of a man falling where he stands. It wasn't part of the plan, but I do what I can.